This conference will now be recorded.
Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. We have 4 or 5 departments to look at this afternoon, and I believe, as other committees have done, we're going to pick our top 2 within each one of these departments. So Juan, is there anything you want to say to us?
Madam Chair and committee members, just real briefly, again, this is the annual plan that is required to be submitted. The projects that you will be looking at, each department has provided to management. It is part of the master project list, and they are being presented and recommending the top 2 that will be incorporated into the list that will go before the council to develop the state's required ICIP list. It is required to submit this list by September 17th. And as you mentioned, Madam Chair, we have all a representative of each of the departments here to present their, and I believe the first one up is fire department.
Thank you. Chief?
Yes. So basically, council, as far as we're looking at the biggest thing that we have right now going on. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it hadn't been changed. The 2 biggest things that we're looking at right now, we were able to kind of bump the structural PPE down. We've come a long way, and we've got that just about where we need it to be. Our biggest problems with headaches right now are our fire engine pumpers and our SCBA, our air packs that the guys wear when they actually go in to fires. Those air packs were bought, it was kind of a lucky deal years ago, 20-ish years ago. There was a group all over the state that went in and kind of piggybacked on a program to buy all brand new SCBA air packs. It was a wonderful thing then. The drawback was it put us 20 years later in the same situation where all of our air packs are shot, they're wore out. In fact, most of those original ones, the parts are obsolete on them. They don't even make the parts for them anymore. So we're using parts off of old air packs to recoup those. We did put in for the AG grant, the federal grant, to try and get the money to cover the entire load of SCBA air packs. They say we're still in the running, but we haven't heard anything else past that. At this point, they've divvied out a lot of that money, so I don't think it's looking too good for us that we're going to get it this late in the game, but it is good that we're still in the running. As far as the trucks, our engine number 2 is our oldest truck right now. It's almost impossible. I don't know of any fire department that can afford to be completely NFPA compliant. So we kind of have to, we work towards that in every aspect of what we do. But fire engines, the pumpers, like engine 2 that I'm talking about, NFPA allows them to be in service for 10 years and then a reserve truck for another 10 years. And engine 2 is a 2010 model. We've got 110,000 miles on it. So we're going to be trying to we're looking at different avenues and areas where we can hopefully come up with some money to get at least that truck replaced first. Next in line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments of the chief? Yes, Counselor Perry?
So on the self-contained breathing units, what agency is that with? You said that is it a federal program that you're looking at with that granting?
AFG, I believe it's FEMA.
It's all-
I'm pretty sure it's FEMA.
And so we applied for 100% with them? Is that-
Yes, and I don't know, I think there is a match.
It might be a small match up to 20% when it's not, it's less than 20%, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
20 or less.
I wanted to say it's 10, but I don't remember for sure.
And I'm sure they had a qualifying time in that. When are they expecting to have all that finalized? Did they give any kind of?
The last of I even had the Secretary of Homeland Defense actually helped me and put in a phone call. And they basically, the best we could get out of them was hopefully by the end or the middle of September was when they planned to have all of that grant process completed. Although originally we were supposed to hear the 1st of August, so.
And Juan, our ICIP has to be turned into the state by when?
September 17th.
Okay, so, okay.
And I will gladly call them again and see if I can just a little more info out of them.
So Madam Chair, I guess a question for you would be, how do you want us, Chair, to handle this? Do you want a vote on this? Or do you want a consensus from the committee on the top two? Do you want to just hear from each of us our thoughts or?
Well, if we, let's ask one, if we do what the other committees have done, you want two from each department, from each committee.
Yes, and each committee has been a little bit different. I mean, some committees, as far as the selection for each department, they have made a motion on their top two. General services, I know, made a combination because there were some projects that were small enough that they could be combined with others. So they kind of selected multiple ones. But I would recommend from each department is if it's a high ticket item, the top two, and to be voted on by motion. That way we can confirm the top.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Counselor Foster.
And on this one, I mean, one of the things that I could see, especially since we might already be paid for, why not us go ahead and do 3? And then if in September we find out, then, then rank them 1, 2, and 3. And then if we find out that we have this, then it can automatically drop off when it goes to full council and we know not to worry about it. But if not, then we keep it as the number 1 for the fire department and send it in the full council. But that way we have 3. My other question I have is, you said the fire unit, is it that the rescue truck that you were talking about that's on here? Because I don't have any other engines on here.
Yes,
It's so number 3,
yes. And that is actually supposed to be the number 2.
the number 2, okay. 'Cause that's the structural PPE is,
We had made corrections to that just recently since we've about got our PPE caught up.
okay. And so then what would the third one be if we were going to pick the third? I mean, the roof on Station 2, to me, I mean, roofs are very important, although we know that Station 2 has outlived its usefulness.
It is, and we also, we just received a quote yesterday from a roofing company to do some patch repair work on some of these roofs. And we're still looking at that, being able to do that on 2. We don't have the actual quote on 2 yet. It's on Station 4 and 5, but we do have one coming for Station 2.
Okay. So then would it roll up to staff vehicles for the,
Actually,
we're down to 150 on
fire
that?
truck engine, the pumper replacements and the smaller rescue trucks would be, I would say, number 2 together.
Okay. Okay, 4 and, okay. But then what would 3 be if, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If we could go 3 on
Then it
the
would be buildings, yes.
building, so then,
Yes.
then go ahead and put the re-roof for Station 2 or just put building repair. It could be that general. It doesn't have to be.
Building repair would be great if we could
Right,
do that.
correct, Mr. Fuentes? So then we can just,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know what amount we want to put on that, but
Well, and I was just wondering too, before we get an answer to that, as far as the breathing units, you're saying the 900,000 would pay for all that you need.
That would replace all the SCBA's we have.
And bottles included. It's the whole 9.
Yeah, it's inclusive of the whole, but could we drop the number down a little bit in order to put a third one on there as well? Or,
On to the SCBA's,
yeah,
technically, yes, we can.
because
Because that was the high,
you're looking at it.
because that number that's on here was the number based on all the fancy bells and whistles to put in for the AFG grant. So yes, there is.
You're also
some-
looking at FEMA maybe still coming through with some money. So if we wanted to, we could put another figure in there. So we have some options. Counselor Lopez, any comments?
No, not yet. So actually, yes. How many do we actually need instead of the 100 units?
We need 100 units. That's probably going to be close to what we need.
Okay.
But each truck gets 4, some trucks get 6. We had reserve pumpers to place them on and frontline pumpers to place them on. So you're looking at least four, that's close to 80 just for front and back line apparatus. And then we have some for recruit class as well. And that doesn't include our hazmat trailer and all that we have SUVs in as well. So
Okay.
dropping the number that we need would be difficult. We could drop the price possibly, but quantity, that's a solid number quantity wise.
Okay, and what do we need to do to drop the price? Just the bells and whistles, like you're saying, the options that come
Yes.
along with it, that they're not necessary to have?
That, and when we get a little closer to actually being able to sit down and work on a quote, we can make them, we have a little bit more room to make them negotiate with us.
Do you have an idea what that number may be?
My best guess, we looked at some stuff and took some stuff off and we got it as low as like 800 in the mid to low 800s.
It's about 80-30, something
Something
I
like
think.
that.
So it's still pretty close to that 900.
It's pretty close.
Anyway.
So do you want to play with that 900 or is there room enough to?
Well, one of the things on this is just, we have that number and we set it up to Santa Fe as an ask. And even if it's a hard 900, that's what we need, they can turn around and give us 700 for whatever. Yeah, they can give us whatever for it. It doesn't mean they'll give us 900. But this is just an ask. This isn't setting it in stone. So it's, and we also have to pretty much rewrite it to a certain degree when we send it up there, right? It's not gonna, some of this, well, especially if we're changing it from the roof repairs on Station 2 to fire station maintenance, building repair.
Yeah, I mean, what, Madam Chair, Mr. Council, what we submit under the ICIP database will be that language, or broad level language, and what we will.
Because it has to, because we have to spend it that meets that, whatever that language.
That's correct.
And so then it's whatever they will send to us. So that's one of the reasons why I was saying if we do the 3 and that one falls off,
Mhm.
then the fire department still has 2 that we're asking for. And it still might not be, we're still going to rank it, but it'll still be in our top
Right.
ones. So.
Comment? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Are we ready for a motion?
The one question I would have is for the fire unit rescue truck, we have a 500,000 here, but are we, do we need to bump that, ask more if it's going to be covering more general other stuff?
On the fire truck,
Yes, that's our number 2. Yeah.
I would ask yes, please.
So,
Because there's 3 trucks that are
so,
right behind where engine 2 is currently right now.
so, I mean, 3 trucks though, that's pushing us to 3 million, right?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it's an ask. So if they give us 1 million, we get a truck, right? So do we want
Okay.
to push that to 3 million? And then what do you want as your ask for your buildings?
That's the tough
Ask for the
one.
moon.
I know, but the 195 is pretty hard, you know that. But then, I mean, what I hate to see up here is, the word I hate to see is deferred maintenance. But if we put all those together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's 400,000, 600, so 600,000 for
Roof repairs.
for building.
Building maintenance.
Building repair,
Repairs.
building, yeah. And I just hate deferred maintenance. It sounds like nails on a chalkboard to me. Is it pay me now or pay
Sounds
me
like
later?
what it is.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Pay me now or pay me later. I always hear that one. But so,
Any comments? And
yeah, any comments
Okay.
from 600,000? Okay. Madam Chair, are you ready for a
I
motion?
am.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to send to the full council the ICIP for the fire department. Number 1 would be the SCBA unit, 100 units at 900,000.
Okay.
Number 2 would be fire engine and replacements at 3 million. And number 3 would be fire station building maintenance at 600,000.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, good. All right. Any further discussion, comments, questions? You guys okay with that? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of putting those 3 as the top 3 on the ICIP that goes to full council, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, that takes care of fire. Next, we have police. Oh, there you are.
Okay. We have a series of things we need. Obviously, everyone knows the situation at the police department and the workload and everything else, so I won't play that violin for you, but we're down to 2 that absolutely haven't even been put into progress. We, by hook or by crook, we've handled almost everything on this list, with the exception of updating the Laserfiche record system, which is the digital document storage, and it replaces the microfiche for our records and evidence. It's non-body cam. And the second thing is a large bite, but it's coming sooner or later, our mobile command unit, which is about, I think it's 30 years old. Is it 30 years old? And a lot of times you won't see that at the recreational events in town because it can't get started. So it's time, you know, we run a tight ship down there. I mean, as far as money wise, we run a tight ship, but it's time for that one. And that's a big hit. That one is 408,000. If you take it in one bite. There are certain outfits out there that will let you do it over 11 years. I think the vehicle obviously may last 30 years, depending on what you envision. Those are our 2 top, the mobile command unit and replacing the Laserfiche system. I can't even pronounce it right, so, and I can't pronounce things right anyways, and then get a word in there. So I'm doing the best I can, so.
Do any of y'all understand a word he said?
I have no.
Are you doing subtitles today? Counselor,
Do we have a Pentecostal who's an interpreter?
I believe Juanita's doing subtitles today.
I think we're going fishing.
Let's do that.
I have a question.
Okay, yes, Counselor Perry.
How are we with body cams? How are our body cams? I've just heard that maybe there was some concerns that some of them need to be replaced or.
And we're in the process of doing that. We actually get some more funding for that. Mike, do you want to grab on that, or?
Yes,
Since they come right through you first.
We have replaced all of our body cameras. We went to a new company. The company that we did have was Axon. We switched that to WatchGuard. That was the first part of the year. We did replace all of our body cameras. We did have a situation in the very beginning where the camera itself that we had obtained that we believed was going to be the best fit for us. They called it a bullet cam. We were under the pretense that they were going to have a proper halo. It's a head fitting with this little bullet cam that sits on the side so that you get a clear view. We were under the impression that WatchGuard was going to produce a halo, and they have not been unable to do that. So we have switched now to it's a lapel type, or not a lapel type. It's a small square camera that fits onto their outerwear, and so that's going to be far more beneficial for us. It's going to be far more efficient for our officers. Those bullet cams, we have many issues with them, which is probably what you're speaking of, is issues with the cameras and all that. We have recently purchased all new of these small body cams. The camera itself, it still uses the same battery pack and everything as the WatchGuard had. So they are purchased, they are on their way. We're just trying to fumble through with what we have.
Glad to hear that. Wonderful. Okay.
One other thing, if I might add, Counselor, is we were way ahead. We had our cameras in 2015 before we deployed. So we weren't able to jump on the body cam grant Well, they did a second cycle for people that didn't have them. We jumped on that one.
Okay.
So that's what we're changing our cameras over with.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, wonderful. All right.
Okay, thank you.
So I understood that the 207,378 and the other,
That's number 9.
408.
I see. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'm comfortable with both of those, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions about those? Motion, please.
On which order? 9 and 7 or 7 and 9? Do you remember what the order was?
Well, it was 7 and 9, I
7.
believe. He said
Laserfish number
Laserfish was number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we send,
I'm going to go with the command unit number 1.
Okay, he switched.
Okay.
9 and
9
7.
is,
That one's an immediate need.
I make a motion that we send to full council that
Flights and moles.
the ICIP determination, recommendation out of this committee for police would be for the purchase of police command post of 408,000. And then the digital document storage to replace microfiche and digital photo video evidence server, in the amount of 207,378.
is there a second? Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the command post and the microfiche record storage system, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Good. Moving on, we have one item on dispatch. Is that? There you are.
So we only have one because of buildings not feasible. That would be our second. But right now, what we're looking at is radio control heads for dispatch. So we had our holdover from 2019 was the infrastructure, which I am happy to say that we have fully switched over last week, I think. Yeah.
About a week and a half.
Yeah, about a week and a half. We've been on the new system that we've been working on. I don't know how long before I got here. So we have done that. There's another piece, and that's the radios that are in dispatch. So that's another piece of legacy that we need to replace. We're having a lot of trouble with the vendor. We can't get support. For instance, the command module, if we want to put dispatchers in the command module, it would cost almost as much to replace the entire system as to put another couple of positions in there. This system is going to do away with licensing and things like that. As many positions as we can, it will provide remote access for social distancing. And there'll be that last piece for the radio system that we need to bring us up to date. So that's our one request.
Okay, appreciate it. Any questions or comments?
I was at the work.
I can't decide between 3 or 4.
One
of
and
them
one.
here.
One and one.
So what you're saying is number one item is your number one choice.
Yeah, because we still got a little bit of holdover, and until I can
He's
get
aggravated.
a building.
My question is, do we put it down twice, though?
Yeah.
Probably appreciate it. Okay, can I have a motion, please, on dispatch?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we, for dispatch, we put the VoIP dispatch console system at a price of $350,000 on the ICIP plan.
Great, thank you. Second?
Second.
2 seconds. You pick them on it. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, now we have parks, only a bit of parks.
All right, well,
Actually,
yeah, animal control.
please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I tried to get a couple of vehicles at the end of last budget as an emergency purchase, and I did win that argument. So we could use that's what it was shot. So anyhow, we had the actual vehicles here, fleet vehicles for 88 grand. We've been able to squeak by with a little help with Becky and the state police. I think we're changing how the trucks are outfitted, taking the ice cream box things off, putting flatbeds on. So one's outfitted to go to adoption events, the other one's gonna be ripped apart. I put a flatbed on it. winches that pick up like dead cattle and stuff. So the officers don't have to do it by hand. And so I think the rest of the vehicles just need cages. So the thing ain't squeak by on that one. However, the surveillance that you see is number 2 is done, it's fried, it's gone. So we have no security camera system there. And if you've ever been there, we really need one. So I'd say that's number 1. And the second thing it would be, if we look at the dispatch systems, it's not CAD. There's called Chameleon. It's actually just a dispatch system for the officers. It keeps the historical data on the individuals and where they're at, the animals, and how many times we've been there. And we can use that to help the officers when they go and decide what level they're going to talk to those people with. So I think the first 2 would be the surveillance cameras for safety, and then do a software system to track our data.
Okay.
Unless you want to give me the vehicles and put the other 2 under communications, I'd take that.
Hand.
Command center or anything, or
I'm
fire truck.
back next year, but I'm in that only has one.
Yeah, really?
Okay, any questions, comments?
I see that it's all of that one all under communications, so yeah, we could do that as
Oh, just call it communications?
communications as one, and then go ahead and ask for do the 88,000 for the fleet as
Okay,
2. So,
Make the motion.
okay.
all right, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we for the animal control, that we add communication systems with surveillance camera system and update on dispatch system in the amount of $70,000. And number 2 would be vehicles for the fleet in the amount of 90,000.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Third.
A third? Okay. What did you say the total of the communication system?
70,000. I just
Just 70.
rounded
Oh,
it
that's
up
where I've
just so
got
that
that. Okay, this is 70 and this is 90,000. Okay, any further discussion or comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion of putting these 2 on the ICIP fund, basically animal control, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, one more. The Roswell,
This is going to be fun.
Mr. Stark.
So my number 1 and 2, we've already discussed. They were the truck and the mower. They were put on there because they were immediate needs.
Sure.
So I want to discuss further, have a long meeting.
So you feel that you can fund those 2?
Oh, we've already.
Okay, yeah. All right, just double checking. Okay, next on your list.
My second number 1 would be a recurring request for our terminal project. As you all know, we've done the study of the demand and done design concepts, but not a design.
Right.
So item number 3 on the list is that phase 1, the terminal construction expansion, which is the design itself for 2.5 million. And I would say we probably should update that number. That was 2.5 million a couple of years ago. So it'd probably be about 2.7 now, would be my guess. It's just a wag, but considering the way things have gone, that's probably not too far off. If one of you just tell me go for 3. Well, go for 3.
Madam Chair, my question, is that just the design phase of it?
That's just the design phase.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, depending on what we do with it, the actual total is going to be probably 27, 28.
Yeah.
So there it is.
Million.
If we choose to work with some other alternates like Grubb, it might be a little cheaper or closer to this number. But again, those we won't know until we do the design.
Okay.
Number two,
Yes.
another serial ask, and I think Chief Miller will jump in on this one as well. But that's item number 6, the aircraft rescue and firefighting training facility. At 2.5, when we put this in here, yeah, he's nodding very bigly, very large.
Not surprised.
That was the Cadillac version. If we could maybe save some money if we wanted to, I say yes for the whole thing or whatever number we think is appropriate for that. And then
Okay.
we decide later whether we want a Cadillac or we want to go with a Spartan version of it. A couple of years ago, the prop by itself was about $1 million. So with the 2.5, that would give us the ability to put in classrooms and other facilities that would be situated with the prop.
May I pitch on that?
Please.
That's what I'm calling you.
May I pitch on that?
Get up.
Feel like you
You
want-
may.
One of the big things about this that is a little bit different for us, fire department. This is actually something that could bring revenue to the airport.
Mhm.
Because we spend a fortune every year sending our guys to either Lubbock, College Station, Texas, wherever to get their ARF certification firms. Every other airport around, not counting maybe Albuquerque, is having to do the same thing. And was it 800 a man?
$800 a person. We spend about.
That's what we paid to Lubbock the last 2 years. So, I mean, this prop could actually be used on a regional type
Yeah, right.
scenario.
So just to kind of expand on that a little bit, right now, there are 6 airports in New Mexico that have Part 139. There are Part 139 airports. And that it may not exactly expand that way, but with the new money that the state has put out for minimum revenue guarantees to subsidize smaller places to get airline service, they may want to go to an Index A as well, even though their airports may not require Part 139 for those smaller aircraft. Typically, that's where those airports are going to want to go, is to start getting into compliance with those rules so that they're able to keep that service. So you may see the demand in the state increase, but as it stands right now, other than, like Chief Miller said, other than Albuquerque, who works with Kirtland, all the rest of us have to go out of state to do it.
So like you say, that could be an income
Yes.
as well as, yes, Counselor Foster.
Well, and this is one of the things that I've seen in a few years is this is economic development. I mean, and it's not just that, and it's not to say that the city would run this. It's just the fact that if we set it up, we could contract it out. I think we have enough retired firefighters in this town that have certification or could get the certification to be the trainers. And then they would be the ones bringing in people. And when I talked about it before, Arizona, isn't it, there's a lot in Arizona that they don't have that. I mean, it's so much. And a few times we couldn't send it. Lubbock was full. We had to send them to College Station.
And really, College Station and DFW are the 2 biggest in the country.
Yeah.
That's where the majority of all the ARF, the aircraft fire stuff training takes place.
And so, this is truly economic development.
It is. And one other piece, just last week, I was talking to NMUR about this. You know, they already have a fire section in their schooling, so it's something they would be willing to expand into as well.
Oh, good. Good. Yes, Counselor Perry.
So, what I would like to do, and let me give some preface before I say this. I was in the meeting with county and school board representation. It wasn't a quorum, but there were a few of us from each of it that met and spent a good bit of time at the county building assessing things. And part of the discussion came up was the county's ICIP and their request on the 5 million for the airport. And through that conversation, I really got to thinking about it. And I do think that we need to place on our ICIP a 5 million for expansion and infrastructure. Leave it to staff to work on that. So my suggestion would be that we put on the ICIP a 5 million for expansion and infrastructure, and then the aircraft rescue and firefighting training facility as the other, unless Scott's just upset at me asking for $5 million.
I'm not, my number 3 was that one he's talking about, so.
Say that again?
So that was my number 3.
Okay.
If you guys didn't like the first 2, that's my number 3.
That's my number 1.
You're very good.
And then the fire training, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great. But regardless of whether, in my opinion, that 5 mil ends up in our top 5 or not, I'm not as concerned about as I am. One thing that I do agree wholeheartedly with the county commission is that it end up in our top 10. Because we're not just looking, ICIP is not just looking at what our legislators have to be able to give to us. It's the legislators as a whole, number 1, then also the governor's pot as well. And I think that we've got the attention and the encouragement from the entire community, county, and as well, that this is the diamond in the rough and we need to put the money into it. So that would be my 2, and that would be what I'd like to do.
Well,
If they just add a little more dialogue to the number 1 on the terminal. As everybody knows, the infrastructure bill has been going through Congress, and there is if I remember right, $9 billion in there for airport terminals. The state is supposed to get somewhere around 90 million, if I remember those numbers right, for aviation. And so my anticipation is that there'll probably be some money in there for a terminal if that passes through and the president signs it.
Will there won't be a requirement for that to be on ICIP though, will there?
Well,
But
I
it
still
still needs to be on the
think it
ICIP.
helps to show that it was something that the city prioritized, whatever it is the way I look at it. So I was going to ask that very question that you just answered, and that was, are there other funds for some of these,
And that was-
especially within, what you're
So
talking
for the terminal, there probably will be. It's not done yet. For the training facility, it qualifies as an FAA AIP project, but it would be discretionary funds. And at this point, our request for discretionary funds is pretty high. We're looking at about 12 million for the runway. And we've also asked for the terminal, which we don't necessarily think we're going to get the terminal anytime soon. So they have those requests on our CIP plans. So the chance of getting a training facility is really low from the FAA. It would most likely need to come from another place.
Go ahead.
So the Madam Chair, I know that we're only being asked for 2, but
But we're going to do 3.
ICIP, I think people, I hope the rest of council understands ICIP is not just a list of 10. It's going to be a list. We're just saying we don't want this down here. We want it up here.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's not on at all anyway, and it would behoove us to put it on the list
Correct.
anyway. Yes, sir.
well, and that's the thing, the 5 million is asking for infrastructure and development, which expansion, which the training facility falls under that. I mean, and if we ask for, we can ask for 5 million, we can ask for 7.5 for that whole thing, one, because that would be, that is development. I understand the concept, the 5 million that that the county's asked for before, and the 5 million we asked for last time was for infrastructure development. But building a training facility is infrastructure development. It's also economic development. And so it could all be wrapped into one. And if they give us 5 million, then we can prioritize which part of it goes to it. If they give us the 7.5 million, then we have the 5 million to do the other projects with too. I don't care how we wrap it. We can wrap it. We can do 3 if we wanted to, but if we wanted to just do the 2 and keep our list smaller, but.
Well, I think Madam Chair, I'm sorry, and I throw him in here. We all know that the governor has enough things to read. She's probably not going to be going through our ICIP or the county's ICIP. She has people doing that, looking through and looking for different things. And of course, it take, last year I went up to Santa Fe. I know Councilor Stubbs did. Commissioner Cavan was on Zoom with us with with the governor's office to discuss some of these things. It's going to take some of that motivation as well. So I almost think we have a greater chance keeping those separated where they do see, so we can really talk strongly about that aircraft rescue and firefighting training facility, and then talk about the other and the expansion and the infrastructure and those needs there. I think that we'd be better off. That's my thought, having those, but I'm not afraid to send a 3 to the list. I mean,
Well, we can send 3. That's not a problem either. Because I do think the firefighting training facility hits several different, it hits our firefighters, it hits our airport, it hits economic development. It hits, so I mean, I don't mind that either. I was just thinking that it's a good hook that then if they pump the other 5 million in, that would be nice too. Instead of having 2 to ask for, then it's just 1. But I'm not afraid for 3 either. If you want to make that motion, that's fine.
that would be my preference.
I think so. Mine as well. Lopez, just comments.
No, I'm good. And that infrastructure is item number 21 on the list. It's already there.
I thought I saw it. There it is.
42.
Yeah, it's 42.
That's going to be Cadillac.
No, 21,
So I'm going to word it differently though.
that says runway.
That
Yeah.
says runway. I'm not
Yeah, it's not really the runway. It's just, related to the southeast of the runway. So
Oh, Southeast Development Phase
Yeah.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see that. So scrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, my motion would be that the top 3 that we would send to full council for airport from a committee for the ICIP would be 5 million to go towards expansion and infrastructure of the RAC for the RAC terminal design in the amount of 2.7, and the aircraft rescue and firefighting training facility in the amount of 2.5 mil.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to, once again, 3 on the ICIP for Roswell Air Center. With a little tweaking of the name, I guess. What is it? Okay. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor of the motion to submit those 3 from the Roswell Air Center, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We will move on. The next item on our agenda is the, basically it's the service agreement with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce for business retention and development. That agreement is up for renewal, and we have what we have in our packet, but Ms. Jennings has provided for us some more current information and from the chamber, and Ms. Jennings from the city are here, so
All right.
let's hear what you have to say.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm here to present the service agreement with the Hispano Chamber of Commerce. The agreement is specifically designed for business retention, development, and community and professional enhancement. This is very similar to our last agreement. In 2019, all community partner agreements were revised so that they would be, the scope of work would be clearly defined. Some of you on this committee sat through that process. The change that you had in your box was a red line. All in-kind service special events, which was Exhibit C, was removed. partially due to COVID and staffing levels. We currently don't have event staff right now. And then item number 4, that was also removed because that coincides with Exhibit C. And then the last one was referring to the census of 2020, and Mr. Nava and his team completed that scope of work. So those were the revisions that you see. Everything else within the agreement, the amount of the funding is the amount of $30,000 for the scope of work outlined. I have met with Mr. Nava. He's seen a copy of the contract, and we will stand for any questions.
Okay. Mr. Nava, anything you'd like to say up front?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's good to be here. It's good to be on the table to renew the agreement for one more year. I believe that the chamber has followed the instructions and kept promises, to put it that way, of all the things that we were asked to do. We did it with pride and gusto, and just hoping that we do renew another year. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, thank you. Any committee questions or comments?
I just wanted to say, number one, y'all did a bang up job with the census. And if we do not reach the 50,000, it will not be because you didn't put blood, sweat, and tears into it. I think that in a COVID year, a lot of people may not have been as focused would be a good word, focused on prioritizing getting that done. But I'm very, very impressed with the work that you and your team did with that. And I don't know how many times I drove through town and saw you with the armful of signs, saw other folks with y'all with armful of signs, standing outside of the courthouse, standing outside of businesses. So I think I just want to tell you all, and your team as well, thank you so much for what you've done and brought value to our community.
Thank you very much.
And so if y'all do anything else as well as you did the census, then we're in good shape. I did want to just say also in the in Exhibit A, and it's just a dramatic, that number 5 needs to be changed to 4, the 6 to a 5. The numbering.
Oh, I should have caught.
And I'm just glad I caught it. And you did.
Yeah, I know you are.
Did I say that out loud?
I think I heard you.
That's all I have.
That makes quality. Since we're in competition, it makes quality. Okay. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway because everyone needs to know. I know that, Ms. Jennings, you and I spent a lot of time on the metrics of what we expected from the chamber. And if I'm not mistaken, you fulfilled almost above and beyond what we asked for in our reporting. And so I appreciate that too. I think it's important to document for your sake, for the organization's sake, I think, as well as ours. And so there are no problems with what's in that metrics and their participation in that.
Madam Chair, they have done an excellent job meeting the scope of work service metric agreements. They're a delight to work with. They turn in their stuff on time with thoroughness. They're really great community partners, and I just appreciate their continued support of our initiatives.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions or comments about the renewal of the Business Retention and Development Services Agreement with the Hispano Chamber? The term is for 1 year with 3 one-year renewals, is that correct?
2.
Two.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is 2 with a total of 3. Okay.
Madam Chair, yeah, I just want to say ditto everything y'all said, so I don't want to we're going to have a long meeting anyway, but I do agree that it's been a pleasure having the Hispano Chamber and their board and Mr. Nava. He's been doing an awesome job, and your whole board is great people to work with, so thank you.
Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we send to full council the approval of the business retention and development service agreement between the city of Roswell and the Roswell Hispano Chamber of Commerce with the corrections of under number 4C being stricken as in the red line edition, and with number 4 under community and professional enhancements on page 6 to be stricken, and also strike exhibit C.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Did you say to send to full council?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you did not put it on consent.
Did you want it?
I would prefer not, but you do.
I mean, we can go up and,
It gives you the opportunity.
yeah, that's fine.
So,
That's fine.
okay, thank you.
No consent.
All right, do we have a second?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on the agreement between the city of Roswell and the Hispano Chamber of Commerce? Hearing none, all those in favor then please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. See you at city council meeting. Thank you. Okay, next on our regular agenda is the Allison Farm lease.
Wait, where's everybody going?
I know, they just are leaving.
Thank you, guys.
No?
Like they don't care.
All right, Madam Chair, Council, thank you
Yes.
so much. Allison Farm, Roswell Vegetable Farms lease. The Roswell Vegetable Farm Incorporated has leased the Allison Farm property from the city of Roswell since January 18, 2006. The current lease, addendum number 3, is set to expire on December 31st, 2025. The current leaseholder, Mr. Doug DeGroot, who operates Allison Farm, Roswell Vegetable Farm, wishes to invest approximately $97,980 to improve the irrigation system at the Allison Farm property. We would like to extend the term of the current lease to guarantee an opportunity to realize the benefits of the investment. So the rent amount will be $65,608.71. That does include 3%. Each additional annual rent payment will be a new base rate plus the CPI or 3%, whichever is greater. That is the Allison Farm in the blue area, right off of Old Dexter Highway and Hubs Road. And there we go. Consider recommending approval of the renewed lease agreement with Roswell Vegetable Farms.
And just to be clear about how what we're doing, because the current lease agreement will go to 2025. So we're terminating the current lease effective January 1, 2022, and then it goes for 8 years until 2030. And then we start, and we can renew it for 2 additional 5-year terms at the, option of the parties.
Okay, I wondered about the current one. So thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. Can you go back to the picture? Thank you. There's discussion within this lease about a structure or something. Is there a structure on the Allison Farms?
Right there on the, I guess it would be, there's a structure that's underneath the, where I put the label Allison Farms. It was not intentional.
Oh, yeah.
No, I have not been out there myself to actually see what that is.
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't think there was a structure, and that proved it.
Yeah, there's something on the property there. It's hard to tell from the satellite image exactly what it is. Maybe the barns or.
It's where the aliens are buried.
Right. For the actual UFO crash.
Gotcha. Okay, I really, and then that picture proved what I thought, but now, okay, there is a structure.
There is something there. I have not been out there personally to look at it to see what
it's been 20 some years since I've been out there. So I don't recall either. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a few things. Does anyone have anything?
I can just to get my bearings, so that's Hobson Road right at the bottom. Across these circles across here are still city property too, right? But do we have them?
The ones on the other side, on the
Yeah.
opposite side, yes.
There are,
I believe
that's
so.
Scrimshire Farm, is that the Scrimshire Farm lease or is it?
I'm not exactly.
Okay. I know Lucrino
There's
uses
some up in there.
some up in there too, so I was just trying to, when I didn't see the Hobson Road at first, so I was
Yeah.
trying to figure
Figure out
out
where,
exactly
yeah.
where that was, but
Yeah.
then, okay.
And
I-
committee members, we are asking for one small addition here on paragraph 2A, which is page 36 of the packet, which describes the rent. We would ask to include, we forgot, or we omitted that to clarify that the payment is annual. Beginning on January 10, 2022, RBF Inc. agrees to pay to the city annually as rent. If we could add that.
Okay, appreciate that. And then while we're looking at that paragraph two, rent, and Todd, you mentioned it as well, with the CPI or 3% or CPI. And it's my understanding there's a whole bunch of CPIs out there. Is there a specific one? I know we use urban CPI at the airport. Is there a need to denote which one and which one would it be? I mean,
CPI urban is what we typically use, so maybe it's to specify that.
so it would say CPI urban?
Then, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay. I have a lot of little schematical kinds of things, and if the committee would just allow me to get with Josh and put that in there.
So moved.
I don't, you don't want to hear me talk about is it and or whatever. So we'll get together on that. It will not change any of the meaning of this. We've already talked about a little bit of it. So there was, let's see. Oh, okay. Again, under the security deposit, number 3, which is still on page 36. We go into this discussion about security deposit and then we're waiving it or not waiving it. I don't think.
Yeah,
that's the word.
Already paid.
So why can't we just say no security deposit will be
Yeah, and
required, or
that is, you could do it that way. We
would
can
you prefer to have all this in there?
No, it's just that we just did it this way because it's the form that we use. So we use the same form for everyone. So the way we did it was just to have a box to tick for yes,
Right.
which gets all the supplies, or a box to tick for no, which doesn't. But I agree with you, it does make some of the text redundant if you go with no.
Okay, so we'll just say no security deposit required.
Okay,
Is that okay?
that's fine.
Appreciate that. Next page on 37, 5B. Toward the end, I think it's the last sentence in B. The city shall be the sole judge as to whether any act done or things created or maintained by Roswell. Okay,
On the premises,
you got it. On the Allison farm,
on
not
Allison Farm.
on the Allison farm. Okay. And then I have a question on page 39, the top 8, taxes, license, and utilities. So the last sentence in that number 8, where it says Roswell Vegetable Farm Inc. shall be responsible for all utilities to Allison Farm. Responsible in what way, in what manner? Does that mean they're responsible to pay them? They're responsible to maintain them? They're
All the
responsible.
above. If there's any utilities that are going to the thing, that's their problem. We're not maintaining them.
So just saying responsible is okay. That's inclusive of every utility and everything.
That's how I would interpret that.
Okay, good. No, I just wanted to. Then on number 9, on that same page, the next to the last line of number 9, and fixtures on Allison Farm, consequential loss arising They're from caused by fire or causes by fire or other casualties.
I think it would be caused.
What? Caused?
Caused.
Correct?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, let's see. RVF Inc. hereby waives all causes or rights of recovery against the city, its agents, employees, invitees, and for any loss to such personal property and fixtures on Allison Farm or to consequential loss arising therefrom caused by fire or other casualty, whether negligently caused or not.
When you read it, I thought it should be causes, but you're right. When you read it out loud, it made sense to me. Thank you. On down, and again, item 10, equipment and improvements. B, it talks about described in Exhibit B, and there is no Exhibit B. I am assuming on page 53 of the packet, irrigation's job estimate should.
That is Exhibit B. I did not put an Exhibit B sticker on there, and I will do that.
Okay, so that is, okay. So we'll know that that is Exhibit B. I think that, I mean, those are some of just the stuff. Okay, that's really my main things. Sorry about that. Anybody else have any, on the committee, have any comments or concerns, questions?
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
What was the rent previous to this new agreement?
62 and some change. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
And then part of this, are we requiring them to show proof or anything that Exhibit B was expended or that was done to the property?
10.
We have a completion date, but I don't think we have an explicit thing where they're going to come and prove it to us. So I guess that's a good point. We could have some kind of, I don't know how they would prove that they did it necessarily.
But in 10B, it does say upgrades are not completed by December 31st, 2022. The city shall reserve the right to terminate the lease agreement.
They do have a completion date.
Mr. Wood suggested that he would come in to see them all, actually.
But if you'd like us to explicitly add a sentence there about that they shall within X number of days after completion, provide proof thereof to the city.
I think that would be.
Yes.
Advisable.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay. Other than that, I don't
Anybody have anything else? Okay. Okay.
Could you please put that, whatever that addition is in red or something, so we can see it at council?
We'll produce a red line version in the packet for city council.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussions or comments?
Well, and the only thing that I had asked for it to be added was the rent amount will be $65,608.71 per annum, so that we know what, yeah, annually, just so that
In
we.
the abstract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we actually know, what we're talking about.
Okay.
Term, that was my first question when I talked to Todd about this yesterday was, okay, is this,
Right.
completion of.
Right, over the life of the.
Right. Because we're adding annually under rent, so you would like to see it in the abstract under financial considerations as well.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion that we send to full council. Do you want this consent or not? Okay. Madam Chair, I make a motion that we send to full council, the consideration of approval for the lease agreement between the City of Roswell and Roswell Vegetable Farms Incorporated for the use of the Allison Farm property in the rent amount of $65,608.71 annually, with the urban CPI or 3%, whichever is greater, to be added annually. Looking for my dates here.
On the terms.
beginning on January 10th of 2022. Let me out here, 8 years. For the amount of 8 years until December 31st of terms and conditions of the lease.
I'm wondering if we should add in here, except it's in the lease. It already says that the current one will be terminated. So that's a term and condition. Okay, good. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to send to full council the new lease on the Allison Farm to Oswald Vegetable Farms. With, as Councilor Perry said, with all the other terms and conditions of the lease and the few changes that were made here. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, good. Our last item for consideration today is, I realize we just adopted Chapter 27 of City Code Cannabis at our last meeting, but here we are with a huge amendment.
This
we
will be
promised.
fast.
As we promised. What time is it? Okay. Let me just give a little bit of background. As everyone knows, we did pass Chapter 27 at the last council meeting with a lot of reserved space for additions of some additional information. And I want to thank Mr. Mavers for all of the work that he's done on this. And what a good presentation. Are you there? Yes, you're there. I couldn't see you. He gave at the council meeting a few weeks ago, but we still have, like I say, an awful lot more to do. And just for information, we have had a small steering committee that's been meeting with council, with our attorneys and with Mr. Mavers, and we've been working pretty diligently. So to bring to everyone what we believe is in the best interest of the city and in compliance with state statute. So let's see what we have in front of us today, starting on page 55, is the new sections that we would like to include at a request to do a public hearing in, what is it, September, and to actually do the public hearing and get these additions adopted in November at the November council. What you have in front of you in the packet is all new language. And then what we have additionally, a couple sheets, if you can see, on page 57 of the packet, this is in the Article 2 under definitions, we have floating zone. And one of the handouts that Parker just printed up for us is, I think at our little group, I'd ask that we have a little bit more definition of floating zone. This is a fairly new concept to us in Roswell and probably to a lot of other people. So Parker, I think I'm going to ask you a little bit more about a floating zone, and my suggestion, at least at this point, would to be incorporate the additional language that we have on this additional handout.
Sure. A floating zone is something that we kind of discussed and then realized that it was a thing after all when we went and looked around. Basically, the idea here is that we create the zone in as a category as a zone that could exist, but it does not actually have a physical presence on the map until an applicant comes and proposes a particular location to be, part of that zone, hence the term, because it like floats in the ether out there. And then when the application comes, somebody will say, here are all the requirements that need to be met for this zone to actually land on the map. We check that that's all the case. And then through our process, which we actually are building in this ordinance, in these amendments, that would actually go forward. And if it all went through according to plan, then that zone would actually be created on that particular plot where that proposal was made for. So that's the concept of a floating zone. It's a bit different from your classic zoning in that sense.
Thank you. Kevin, any further comment on that?
No, just I want the committee to be very mindful of the fact that this is not something we just made up.
Exactly.
The floating zone is a very traditional concept of utilizing zoning in a way that allows the municipality to take charge of when and how certain things are placed. Floating zones have been used very, very effectively for master plan developments, for specific plans, for workforce housing, for mixed-use developments and other things like that. But it allows us to establish the development requirements within this particular zone. And in our particular case, we've decided that this particular zone is a subset of either our I2 or our C2 zone. When a cannabis developer comes along, they reveal the development requirements. They say, look, we would like to, because we've established those under the floating zone, what those requirements are. They can then pull that zone down, apply for a zone change, along with all the other things that go along with it. And then we can apply those design and development techniques. It's a way of us getting out in front of things. This is that although the request is driven by the cannabis developer, the standards are held by us.
Okay. Oh, that's good. All right. Thank you for that. Okay. So again, we've already established a floating zone within our ordinance that we've adopted already, but felt the definite need to define it as one of our definitions. So yes, Councilor Foster.
But the key to that though, it's a floating zone until then we have an address, and then
yes,
then it's that area is no longer a floating zone. That area can be well, the IZIP or what the
yeah, it becomes rezoned as an ICANN or an
ICANN, yeah,
ICANN or a CCAN.
ICANN or a CCAN.
Yeah.
But that does not mean the adjacent property is, first of all, we have zoning of how far they can be next to each other. So it definitely doesn't mean the next property is part of that. It's just that specific property.
Just that specific.
Is an ICANN or an ICANN or the
CCAN
or ICANN.
ICANN or CCAN.
ICANs or CCANs, there you go.
Okay, so that.
Industrial cannabis or commercial.
So, okay, so that floating zone is just to allow.
It's parcel specific, yeah.
Yeah.
So that, Madam Chair and Councilor Foster, also to add to that, it makes it specific to that property until that business, whenever they're done, it doesn't stay there. Anyone else who applies, they're going to have to go through the same process with the floating zone as well again. Am I correct?
What we will do with the conditions of approval for that zone change and for the conditional use permit is if that specific use associated with the ICANN or CCAN zone ever ceases to exist on that, the property automatically reverts to its underlying zoning designation, either C2 or I2.
It's sort of like the existing uses section in that once the use is abandoned, then it no longer stays in that zone. It goes to the original zone.
Madam Chair, if I can say one other thing about the floating zone is, and this doesn't have to do with cannabis, I wonder if maybe we may not want to consider the use of floating zone for other things. I'm thinking in particular, we have the sexually oriented business ordinance that we did, but maybe that's something we need to consider to maybe to adopt in some of our other areas as well, as we make ourselves familiar with this.
Certainly look into that.
We can look into, certainly, yeah. Councilor Foster.
So is it transferable though, as far as if they sell the business to someone else and it continuously operates?
Only subject to all of the other development requirements. Anybody that would be purchasing that business would still have to fulfill all the regulatory permitting requirements and everything else to make sure that they are appropriate for a license to sell or manufacture or to cultivate cannabis. There is a process. Obviously, it's being worked out at the state level. We will emulate that process here as that information comes out. But as of right now, the transfer process is lengthy and difficult.
Because my concept is that if someone decides to come in and buy it and then try to, try to use the previous license until they get their licensing, that can't, I don't know what the state's going to be allowed. I don't think that would work as far as if it was an alcohol license. I know they can't do that.
Well, it depends.
If it ceases at any time, then they have to go through that whole process.
It would be a change in the permittee, and so when the new permittee comes in, they would have to go to community development to be, so the old person who was permitted on that location no longer operating there. It may or may not require, in fact, it's already zoned as the ICANN, let's say, for example, then the new permittee wouldn't necessarily need to seek a rezone, but they would need to seek a permit to operate there. So they would still have to come through community development. And it will require some thinking about how exactly we do it, because just like with alcohol, it depends on how the transfer of ownership occurs, because you can do it at multiple levels. If there's a company that owns the business and there's a transfer of ownership of the company, technically from the point of view of the city, that's still the same owner of the company. And so how does that interact with our process? Those are the kind of issues we're looking at right now.
I say this is an incredible work in progress. Okay. Councilor Lopez, any questions?
That was my question that I had, that
Okay.
change of ownership or the owner leasing it to another individual. So you guys, it sounds like you have your bases covered on that.
We are pondering these things.
These are part of this multifaceted process we are calling the comprehensive cannabis ordinance, which is why we're here today with amendment number 1 of what I estimate will be a minimum of 4 amendments to our original framework before we get this fully fleshed out.
And so,
Where it says, yeah,
so throughout, department means community development department, commission means planning and zoning commission, and council means the Roswell City Council.
okay.
Throughout the document.
I'm just saying, if I had this piece and I didn't have this, but if you all think that that's ample, that's fine. So we don't need to say community development. And then let's see. Applicant opportunity. Okay, on the red line A, 1, 2, the third line, opportunity for a preliminary review of the proposed project.
Yep.
I think should be there. Okay,
I do have one more question.
go ahead, please.
Reading this and seeing that the pre-application review, if someone comes to us, pretty much anything that they submit to us is IPRA, correct?
It is.
So, and I understand. So that's my own, to a certain degree, my only problem I have is if a person's wanting to start a business, suddenly it's public whenever they even start a pre-review.
True.
And so, I mean, at some point, it's, I don't know if there's any way of, I mean, you know, he can't sign an NDA.
Nope.
So,
Once it's in our hands, it's public records.
I've run into this problem before, believe it or not, where, especially with the cultivation people, the state-of-the-art techniques, especially in indoor cultivation, are changing almost daily. The extraction methods there's new people coming out with extraction methods. Many of these are proprietary. The pre-application review process does not require the disclosure of with that level of detail where they would be disclosing proprietary information. If they indicate that they do have proprietary products or services, my advice to every developer has always been to ensure that they get in touch with their attorney and they have the appropriate legal protections in place prior to making a formal submittal. Most of these things are not detailed out in great detail until very near the end of the development process, because they are, in some cases, not even disclosed until the building permits are underway and you're doing the build out to the facility. We're just dealing primarily with location of facilities, types of facilities, and the regulatory permit, their ability to operate. What they put inside the building in order to, say, do the extraction process or to facilitate cultivation, that comes later when they get ready to do their building designs much further on after they get their regulatory permits and the development permits in place.
Okay.
but I see also in the future coming up, I mean, we're going to be talking about effluent control, disposal, a lot of the systems that they're going to could be putting in place could be proprietary to the fact that how are we going to, I mean, I think we have to have something set up to the point where we can regulate to the point that, yes, your effluent meets our demands. You're going to have to know how you're doing it, but it could be proprietary information. So I don't know how we handle that.
Let us look at, we'll have to take a little bit of a deep dive into IPRA and see what exceptions for trade secrets and business practices there may be or may not be. So let us look at that and address it at the next meeting. Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
So this is what I was concerned wasn't there. I like this.
That's a very rough draft of what we're going to do.
I understand that.
We put that together this afternoon, and actually, we didn't. Spencer put that together in about, and I want to make sure that we all appreciate your kind words at the beginning of this presentation, but this has been a team effort.
Very much.
I realize I may be the quarterback on this particular team, but if it had not been with Spencer has been doing a great job in helping us pull these things together. And of course, the legal team has been going through and fixing all of my mistakes as quickly as they possibly can, right up until and including 30 minutes before this meeting. So
That's okay. That's the way we.
it is definitely all hands on deck, and it is going to remain that way. I said my best estimate right now is that you will be seeing at least 3 more amendments, one every month through the end of this year, and then beginning in January.
Legislature.
Again, by that time, the legislature will probably be working on their regulatory requirements and everything else, and we'll come back and it's just the cannabis ordinance is just a process that we are going to have to stay on top of for quite some time.
Thank you very much. So it has been a team effort. I have one more question about what's in front of us on page 20, or pardon me, 59, and that's section 27-32, where it says commission review. Have we said commission means, or planning and zoning commission means commission? That's in there?
Yes.
Okay.
27.
Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. I read it.
I
in
noticed that,
pieces.
but then down here it says city council, so
Yeah, we don't have to.
we could have just said council.
Could have said council determination.
I could have, yeah.
Yeah, we could have.
Okay, so how do we feel about this? Any other questions or comments or changes to what we would like to present in September?
I would think though that when we present this in September, that we just use that section, so we don't have all the rest of, that's where.
You know, I just asked Parker to print this out and it was so much easier real
Yeah.
quickly just to do that one
I
piece,
appreciate
but
it,
that's
but then
all
when I
we
started
were
looking at the other one, I went.
Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that and I didn't. Okay, any other questions, comments on our first amendment to chapter 27 cannabis?
Madam Chair, does this mean once we get this one in, that we get 6 months off from our little Monday morning meetings to go through
It's
this?
on the calendar in perpetuity.
I permanently just added it to my calendar for sure. I'm having dreams about this meeting anyway, so. But, all right, we're getting somewhere. That's the
We are.
good thing.
We
We're
are.
getting there.
We are a lot further along
Well,
than some
and
of our peers in the state.
And
I was going to say, there are other municipalities that
Oh,
are
my.
waiting with bated breath to see what we do, so they can copy it.
We're able to sell these to these other.
It would be nice if.
I tell you, if I was still,
Free up
if I
so
was
they
still
can
in the
just take
private
it.
sector, I would be working on my retirement plan by selling all the stuff that we're doing right now.
it's worth saying that the ETZ Commission, which we've got Commissioner Connolly with us here today, y'all have already passed an approval on to ETZA, correct? Okay, so I think that's important for us to know that Travis County's on top of this, our ETZA Commission is on top of this, and we as a city are on top of this. And I think that's honorable that we're taking a lead in this and not sitting back and waiting for somebody to help us. So.
Well, I think that's a great comment, and I think if you all, I'm pretty sure most of us are aware of the fact that September 1 is when the state starts accepting some kind of applications, so we're trying to get our part.
And
in place.
it's sort of, I shouldn't say comical by any means, because none of this is comical. But when we had the Zoom meeting with the
Superintendent.
superintendent, the comment that kept coming in over and over is, you've just got to use what you have on the books now. You have to use what you've got on the books now. You don't have time. And we said, we just stayed quiet. We made time and we got it done. So we're ahead of the ballgame, I think. And I appreciate staff. I really do. All of y'all that's put the time into this, and to our manager for allowing them to put up with us counselors to make sure this gets done.
Just one more thing to keep you all up to speed on where we're going. One of the lines that you are approving at this point and moving forward has to do with the establishment of fees for cannabis. Next Monday, I believe, the fee resolution will be going forward.
Oh, good.
So at the city council meeting,
Oh, really?
the next city council meeting, we'll be not only talking about amendment number 1, but we'll be establishing our fees. Staff is also working on the formal applications that we'll be able to get out to anyone that wants to come through. We'll be working on our graphics. We'll also have a website updates and other things in development. So there's a lot of moving parts right now, but it's all starting to come together nicely.
That's great. Thanks to all of you. Appreciate it. So, any other questions or comments or concerns or statements?
Chair, I just have a question. So do we have a committee made up of a representative from the county, the city, and the ETZ working together, or is it just by phone calls, or how's that coming along?
I wouldn't call it a formal committee, but there is an understanding between a number of us at least at the staff level. We're sharing a lot of information back and forth.
So there is a connection between everybody.
Yeah, before we ever got started on this project, I reached out to a number of people. They reached out to me as well. And so you're seeing a number of public agencies, including the county with their ETZ. I've been in touch with Louis Jaramillo on a regular basis. I've been in touch with the people in Las Cruces, in Artesia, and half a dozen other communities at one point or another. And they're all looking for Roswell for leadership on this issue.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, my goodness. I've really tried to stay quiet because I've talked so much in the other meetings in there about cannabis. Well, you want to do it, Counselor Foster?
No, I think, you're our resident expert on it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we send to full council on the consent. I'm kidding, not on the consent.
He knows how I feel about the consent.
I make a motion that we send to full council at the next meeting, the amendment of the chapter 27 of the Roswell City Code relating to cannabis with the corrections that have been discussed within this meeting. There, staff understands for advertisement of the amendment of that ordinance. Yes, thank you, Councilor Foster.
With a recommendation.
With a recommendation to approve.
Great.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, and we've had discussion. Any further comments on the motion? All those in favor of recommending this amendment to, as we've discussed with the changes to chapter 27, with the recommendation to approve. I said, well, we'll include the public hearing, of course. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That shall go to full council then to advertise. All right, we also have department reports from the city clerk, legal and safety. Any questions about those attachments? I appreciate getting these. It helps a lot to know what's going on. It gives us some insight, and we appreciate it. Anything further to come before the committee?
May I make just a question? Just a question. I am planning and I'm about to drop you an email. I don't like to use the word sponsor, but I'm bringing a resolution forward concerning the 30/30. I was not expecting, and I'm not trying to make a knock on our governor by any means, but I was not expecting for her to sign something so quickly. But unless I misunderstood, I think that there's already been a signing committing New Mexico. If not, there was at least a lot of discussion towards it to becoming 30% fed with the free land or the conserving land and water by 2030. I will be hopefully bringing a resolution forward with your help for council to consider. Madam Chair, would this be the appropriate place to bring that through?
I would think, I don't know where else you would take
Sure.
it. I mean, I would think so.
Okay. Yep. With your permission, I'd like to bring that as a consideration next month. Okay.
Any other comments or questions, discussion, announcements?
Just one from the department, the concerns that Commissioner Lopez, or Councilor Lopez now, excuse me, Councilor Lopez, brought forward about the leadership that we're showing in the city of Roswell. 2 weeks ago, I participated in the New Mexico chapter of the American Planning Association. There was an online conference and it was a roundtable discussion of cannabis. I was one of the presenters. There were other presenters, one from Santa Fe and one from Albuquerque. The exchange of ideas was interesting, to say the least, between us. And in 2 months, I have been asked to be a presenter at the conference, one of the breakout sessions for the New Mexico League of Zoning Officials, NMLZO, New Mexico League of Zoning Officials. And I will give everyone exactly one guess on what I've been asked to present on.
Let me see.
SOBs, right?
Food trucks. Food trucks.
Is that right?
That's, the entire conference is all about trends and issues in zoning, and they have asked me to speak on food trucks on that one. So I'll get to break out of cannabis mode for at least one day.
You know,
Yeah, think about food instead of cannabis.
the interesting thing about that is I worked with a lady that grew up in Albuquerque. She taught in Denver. And she came back here and today we had the discussion. She was so impressed with how many of our food trucks are in Roswell. She goes, now in Denver, we had great food trucks and I'm used to it in Albuquerque, but I could not believe how many great food trucks we have here in Roswell.
Interesting. That's great. That's good. That's good. When you mentioned the zoning officials, I know that they were interested in changing the 30 feet from schools and others to 1,000.
300 feet.
300 feet.
What did I say?
30.
30.
Yeah.
30?
They're out in the street.
Oh, that's right over here.
Halfway across the street.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no wonder I got such a, okay. 300 feet, they'd like to see the legislation changed to 1,000. And so I think we're going to work on presenting a resolution to the league next week about doing so. It'll be interesting to see where that goes, but like I say, there's going to be a lot of activity continue over the next several months on this issue.
I do know that the municipal leagues, or their versions of municipal leagues in California, Colorado, and Oregon have all been responsible for some of the significant changes to the base ordinances that are base legislation in order to continue to protect the city and the residents of the
Talked
city.
about that, the municipal leagues, that's their mission, is to protect and to support cities. So that's good to know. All right, no other questions, comments? Larry?
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
No
You
way,
too.
no way.
Okay, well, adjourn this legal committee at 5:54. Thank you all very
It actually
much.
didn't take as long as I thought it would.
Me too.